Hungu and the circulation of power. Civilizations do not rise merely by accumulating wealth. They rise by learning how to circulate it. Africa stands today on a vast reservoir of hidden capital, land without liquidity, caregiving without recognition, innovation without investment. The principle of Hungu teaches that power lives only when it flows. In this edition of Wyathi, we explore how tokenization transforms Africa's invisible wealth into living systems that can finance global health equity, and how the Boston Marathon for Global Health 2027 becomes a living symbol of this circulation. This is more than an article. It is an invitation to movement, spiritual, economic, and physical. You do not have to be in Boston to participate. Run, walk, or move wherever you are in the world. Each step you take becomes a declaration that health, dignity, and prosperity must flow to all humanity. Join the global circuit. Run for health. Run for justice. Run to actuate hope. Tokenization as Africa's pathway to global health equity. Africa stands today at the threshold of a profound civilizational awakening. Across its landscapes lie vast reservoirs of hidden capital, unregistered land, dormant factories, invisible caregiving labor, unmonetized intellectual property, and untapped ecological wealth. These assets, as Hernando de Soto reminds us, are not absent. They are merely unseen, trapped in systems that cannot recognize or circulate them. Tokenization emerges as the architecture that resurrects this hidden wealth. Yet beneath the technical brilliance of blockchain lies a deeper philosophical foundation that explains why tokenization works and how it must be ethically governed. That foundation is the principle of Hungu described in the book Natia. Hungu, the law of circulating power. The principle of Hungu teaches a fundamental truth of living systems. Power must circulate to remain alive. Energy sealed within a container inevitably stagnates. Wealth hoarded decays into fragility. Authority guarded collapses into irrelevance. The Natia fellow understands that power is never owned, only channeled. Tokenization is, at its essence, the technological embodiment of Hungu. It transforms static assets into circulating flows of value. It opens reservoirs and converts them into pipelines. Where traditional systems trapped African capital inside bureaucratic registries or elite monopolies, tokenization releases it into decentralized circulation, allowing communities, diaspora investors, and global partners to participate in wealth creation. In this way, tokenization fulfills Hungu's axiom. Increase comes through flow, not possession. Solving de Soto's mystery of capital through Hungu. Hernando de Soto described Africa's tragedy as the existence of trillions of dollars in dead capital, property and productivity lacking legal and financial recognition. Hungu explains why this capital became dead in the first place. It was trapped inside reservoirs of exclusion. Tokenization resolves this structural blockage through three conversions that mirror Hungu's philosophy. 1. The invisible becomes visible. Informal land ownership, maternal caregiving, agricultural output, and scientific discovery become measurable and verifiable on blockchain systems. Hungu teaches that hidden power stagnates. Tokenization reveals it and places it into motion. 2. Recognition becomes property. Tokens formalize rights and fractionalize ownership. They protect assets from corruption, political erasure, and elite capture. Through Hungu's lens, this is the opening of channels that allow communities to participate in their own prosperity. 3. Property becomes capital. Once assets circulate, they attract investment, create liquidity, and generate productivity. Dead capital becomes living capital. This is the resurrection of Africa's wealth through structured circulation. By solving de Soto's mystery, tokenization directly addresses the global burden of disease. When communities control their assets, they finance clinics, hospitals, maternal care programs, and biomedical research. health systems become locally sustained rather than externally dependent. Tokenization of real-world assets as health infrastructure. The principle of Hungu reveals that health equity is not built solely through medicine, but through economic circulation. Tokenization creates this circulation across multiple domains. Manufacturing and medical innovation. Africa possesses dormant factories, idle biomedical prototypes, and unfinanced pharmaceutical innovations. Tokenization fractionalizes ownership of these assets, allowing thousands of investors to co-finance production facilities, medical supply chains, and vaccine development. By restoring liquidity to manufacturing, Hungu converts stagnation into productivity, strengthening healthcare delivery capacity across the continent. Real estate and community health systems. Across cities such as Lagos, communities live on land that exists physically but not legally. Tokenization formalizes these properties, allowing residents and diaspora investors to co-own infrastructure. When land becomes capital, communities finance housing, clinics, sanitation systems, and emergency care facilities. Geography becomes destiny not through speculation, but through health equity, agriculture, and nutritional security. Tokenized warehouse receipts and harvest futures allow farmers to access capital before crops are sold. This reduces poverty and improves nutrition, two of the most powerful determinants of disease prevention. Hungu teaches that feeding communities is not charity, it is strengthening the biological and economic circulatory system simultaneously. Maternal care and the invisible economy. The Mumbai token demonstrates Hungu's most profound application. Maternal caregiving, long invisible and unpaid, becomes measurable capital. Tokens linked to successful deliveries, vaccinations, and child development milestones channel investment directly into maternal health systems. Here, the overflow of caregiving labor becomes a structured flow of economic and biomedical resources. Stoic philosophy and the discipline of circulation. Stoic philosophy aligns seamlessly with Hungu and tokenization. The Stoics taught that resilience emerges through disciplined engagement with reality rather than resistance to it. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the obstacle becomes the way. Africa's burden of disease and poverty becomes the catalyst for building decentralized health economies. Stoicism emphasizes mastery of internal order before external transformation. Similarly, Hungu teaches that one must first fill the cup, establish stability, dignity, and sustainability before allowing overflow to nourish others. Tokenization reflects this Stoic discipline by building systems that are transparent, lawful, and resilient against corruption. Both Stoicism and Hungu reject dependence on external rescue. Instead, they cultivate self-sustaining ecosystems. Tokenization becomes the infrastructure through which this philosophical discipline is expressed economically and medically. The Boston Marathon for Global Health 2027, embodying Hungu in motion. The Boston Marathon for Global Health 2027 stands as a living metaphor for tokenization and Hungu. Marathon running is the physical manifestation of circulation. Blood flows, breath flows. Endurance emerges not from hoarding energy, but from disciplined release. The marathon symbolizes global health as a shared responsibility. A blind physician-scientist running alongside a cardiologist guide represents the collaborative networks required to sustain healthcare systems. It reflects Stoic endurance, Natya sacrifice, and blockchain coordination simultaneously. Just as tokenization fractionalizes ownership of assets, the Global Health Marathon fractionalizes participation in global health justice. It invites individuals, institutions, scientists, and communities worldwide to contribute their energy to a collective movement. Tokenization as the circulatory system of global health. When viewed through Hungu, tokenization becomes more than financial innovation. It becomes biological and civilizational infrastructure. It circulates resources in the same way blood circulates oxygen. It distributes knowledge like neural networks distribute information. It decentralizes authority like ecosystems distribute resilience through tokenization. 1. Communities finance healthcare infrastructure. 2. Diaspora capital flows directly into development projects. 3. Biomedical research becomes community-owned. 4. Preventive health systems replace reactive treatment models. Global health equity emerges when economic circulation mirrors biological circulation. Participation, running the circuit of justice. The Boston Marathon for Global Health 2027 invites the world to embody this philosophy. Participation is not restricted to Boston. The marathon is global. Individuals can run, walk, or cycle wherever they are in the world, joining a decentralized movement for health justice. Each step taken becomes symbolic of circulating power. Each mile represents the release of stagnation and the advancement of global healing. Just as blockchain nodes operate across continents to secure decentralized networks, runners across the globe form a human network sustaining global health equity. Conclusion: Hungu as Africa's blueprint for healing. Africa's hidden capital is not merely economic. It is human, cultural, intellectual, and spiritual. Tokenization reveals this wealth, but the principle of Hungu guides its ethical circulation. Together with stoic resilience and the global solidarity embodied in the Boston Marathon for Global Health 2027, they create a unified architecture for justice. Tokenization converts dignity into property, property into capital, and capital into health. Hungu ensures that this capital flows continuously, sustaining communities rather than accumulating in isolated reservoirs of privilege. The future of global health will not be built through charity alone. It will be built through circulation, through systems that allow power to move, knowledge to spread, and communities to finance their own healing. And like the marathon itself, this transformation begins not with a single destination, but with the courage to take the next step, wherever in the world that step may be taken. Participate in the marathon for global health here, https://actuate.bio/Boston 2027.